So if I'm going to compete in the World Championships, what are some unexpected plants that I should not be feeding my horse?
It's a minefield at the moment. It's a really interesting area because around 40% of drugs are made from plants. Sometimes they synthesize the molecule that they want to make the medicine, but they're very similar. So in a dope test, you're likely to find compounds that come from things like orange peel, which is called synephrine. There's a compound, if you're feeding a joint supplement, glucosamine, that's called octopamine. So if you're getting anything from a marine source, you've got a high chance of contamination. And really, even coumarin, which is an anticoagulant that comes from warfarin, is banned. It isn't. There isn't a threshold limit from it. Even that you can find in hay that's been perhaps harvested too late. It's also in maybe 10 different plants that you can find in your meadow. And I know if I were to go on the internet and trawl through, I would find within minutes most supplements that are sold contain one or two chemicals that are just not allowed, or that they're prohibited. And people don't really understand that when they give supplements. I did give some help to a team of riders, and in the shopping bag was the orange peel, which I have really no idea why. Well, I do know why it's popular. It'll work at certain levels. The synephrine it contains will work as a kind of calmer. The higher it goes up, the more it then takes on the properties of a steroid. So it's actually something that's not really a good idea, but there are a good many food supplements for some reason that are putting ripe orange peel into their supplements. Not sure why. Licorice is another one. Meadow sweet is a common one. Chamomile, it depends at what age it was harvested, can be something that you should watch out for. Rosehip, that if it's harvested at a certain time of year, will contain more of an anti-inflammatory compound that's similar to a drug. So you really do have to know your stuff. It's a very, very complex area.
So if I'm not taking my horse to a horse show, I can feed it all these things?
Yes, you can, absolutely. Salicin is another one, which is found in all, I think it's white willow is the highest container, and it's the compound that then makes aspirin. It's completely banned for racehorses. There's no threshold limit in Hong Kong or Singapore, but if your horse is out and chews a fence, he will take in a bit of salicin on the way, and that's something that you have to watch out for. If you're not competing, then it really doesn't matter. You can give most things, but the advice I think for if you're wanting to mimic a natural environment is to give small amounts of lots of different things. Don't give a lot of one thing. I know we hear a lot of people that come and they swear by one plant to do everything, and although they do contain a lot of compounds, you have to be aware of the toxicity in individual plants, and that's something I think that isn't really given too much thought. You need something with a very low toxicity to give horses, otherwise you will get other problems with them. Well, our real passion is to encourage people to manage their horses in a way that's educated. We're really keen on educating people about plants, about how plants interact with health, without actually saying that they're medicine. At the moment, we seem to have the kind of veterinary medical field, which is very well qualified and revolves around dealing with an illness or prescribing a drug for a disease state or an illness. And what we want to do is actually come one step before that and actually tell people how to maintain health and prevent the horses going into that disease state. And I think that we're quite well qualified to do that. After a time qualifying microbiology, we're backing into the One World Health Initiative that is looking to find drugs from plants. Now, we don't want to find a drug that we can use on horses particularly. The market isn't big enough to actually fund that development. But what we want to do is use that information along the journey to say to the horse owners, look, if you use this plant in this particular way, you can expect this result. A lot of them are antimicrobial. We're running into drug-resistant bacteria now going forward. So to me, it's just logical that people should really embrace the knowledge of plants, not see it as herbalism and a kind of separate mystical thing that happens. And we do, I think vets are a little bit more receptive. Sometimes they are, sometimes they aren't. And I think there needs to be a step more from the veterinary world towards what we're doing with the One Health initiative, because it is medical research. You know, that we are trying to solve some of the problems of chronic disease. We're doing it through a different streaming, but it does have a similar end. So the information that we find, our vision is to present that in a simple to understand way to horse owners so they can go out and maybe feed their horses better to prevent disease.